Hello, Mel, Denise, Liz.
Good
Hello.
morning and good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Nose. And eyes. So we kind of do the sense organ areas that are also related to internal organs here. And ears. Then we go to the thyroid. So we're just at the bottom where the collarbone is. Go up just a little bit to get to the middle of the thyroid. And then just a little bit more to get to the top of the thyroid. We start down at the collarbone again with these two. And we're pulling up like that to the chin. And at least 3 times. And then here's the top of the kidney meridian, kidney 27. And then thymus gland. And then when we go to the kidneys next, the adrenals are also glands that are on top of that. So we're kind of doing an endocrine system sweep here of some of that. And then kidneys, adrenals. And the adrenals are responsible for releasing those stress hormones. And then we go to our lymphatic work. So we do the collarbone first. And I would say doing this lymphatic work is going to be really important, especially if you're in an area where you definitely have the four seasons and it's getting colder now and winter is going to be kind of cold. Definitely want to make sure that the immune system and the respiratory system are functioning well. So I would say 3 times, 5 times a week. Every day is even better if you can do it every day. And when you get up in the morning is probably the best time to do this beginning sequence that we do. And because we're doing this collarbone area, I'm coughing because we are stimulating this upper lung area. And so if there's anything that needs to move, you're going to find that it's going to want to. And then we can go to the sides of the neck. And we can do a few like this. And then back of the neck, which is also really important for blood flow into the brain and the cerebral spinal fluid and the nervous system. And also doing this kind of removes tension that's building up in the back of the neck. And then we can squeeze and release the brain stem. And then we can go to the pectoral area. So first you want to find that sore point. Focus on that. I'm going to blow my nose while we're starting to do that. So I usually find that doing this beginning routine, you'll notice I blow my nose quite a bit. So especially in the morning, a lot of times I find that that sinus area needs to be cleared out. And if I don't do this, in the morning, I typically am not blowing my nose at the same time like I am doing um, here when we do this work. So for me, it's definitely moving stuff that's stuck in my lungs and my sinuses. And say I was to do this particular routine again, say at 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, which sometimes I do the routine again. Typically, it would be very unusual for me to be coughing, blowing my nose, things like that. So just something I've noticed. And so for me, since I grew up with uh, chronic situation of asthma, bronchitis, this kind of work definitely has helped quite a bit. Let's go to the abdominal area. To help make me healthier, especially in those weak areas that all of us have, usually some weak areas that we were born with, something that might be genetic. And this work is especially helpful for all that. So if there's anything going on in the abdominal area, this particular movement is going to be really, really good to go clockwise and counterclockwise. So if there's any discomfort in this area, again, our palms are connected like this, so those Lao Gong points are connected, and we're moving the chi and spiraling it in this whole area. So we go one direction, we go the other direction. And in particular, if there's abdominal distress, you may want to do this particular work of just spiraling, but you might do it 72 times, 128 times in one direction, 128 times in another direction. And you're going to find that that's going to be very useful to move energy, stuck energy that's in this space. So this particular spiraling movement is going to be really, really good for that. And then stomach meridian. This one would also be a good movement that maybe I would do this one after I did the spiraling movement. And again, you could do this 9 times minimum, but you could do it more repetitions. We go to the crease. And then the back of the knees. So keep on doing the back of the knees. I'm going to blow my nose one more time here. Maybe one more time. So this lymphatic sequence, let's do the yin yang pattern next. Definitely with me, loosens up sinus stuff. So spend more time in the joints, especially if there's any area that's bothering you, that has inflammation, which is going to be causing arthritis, bursitis, those kinds of things. But it might just be that that joint is sore. And again, if that is a sore area, you don't necessarily want to be hitting it hard. But sending this vibration into that space is going to help move around all the fluid and energy flows that we want to move around in that space to help heal it. And then we go collarbone to the other side. Down the sides of the rib cage and around the belt. So we go around the belt because there's a belt channel here. And then down the outside of the legs. So gallbladder meridians on the outside here. And by working with clearing blockages in the meridians, we're typically really helping to work with the organs. So up the front is stomach. Around the belt again. Down the back of the legs, which is bladder meridian. Up the inside, kidney, liver, spleen. And then our spiraling. So also I'll mention, like I do sometimes, So the spiraling action is also very helpful for constipation, or if everything is too loose. So here's what we would do. So say there's constipation. So you would start on the right side here. We go up the ascending colon across the transverse, down the descending colon and around and back again. So we're going in this direction for constipation. So you'd only do the one direction. And again, you might do it 75, 100 times, 150 times. You just keep on going in this direction. Now say everything's too loose. So that's the direction of flow that normally occurs. So we want to do that direction of flow. If everything's too loose, we want to do the opposite direction. So if everything's too loose, we go up the left side across down the right. So we do the spiraling in this direction if everything's too loose. And that will help to mitigate that situation. So just something about the spiraling that we can add in there. So let's do our, so before we do our connective tissue stuff, let's just do one of our movements that we can do for the kidneys. And kidneys we'll be working with a lot more when we get into the winter season. But for the kidneys, remember it's that blue-black color. You can just use black if you want to. Some people don't like to use black because they think it's not a good color. But basically what you think of is kidneys are water element. If you think of the ocean and you go very deep into the ocean, the sunlight is only hitting the top. And so at the bottom, it's very dark, it's black. And so we're getting down to the kidney water deep level with that black. So you can use midnight blue, whatever, you want to here. So we're imagining there's a river flowing in front of our feet, our toes here. And we're going to put the back of our left palm on our right kidney here. And then we're going to take our right palm and we're going to imagine as we squat and scoop down that we're bringing the water into our palm, but especially that midnight blue color. So when we inhale, we are scooping up the midnight blue color out of the water. And as we come up, we have this configuration where the elbow is pointed down and the midnight blue color in this palm is pouring across into this palm and into that kidney, okay? So, and this is the exhale part that pours the midnight blue into the kidney when we do that part. And we're turning our rib cage a little bit. So the inhale is gathering the midnight blue out of the water. The exhale is letting it pour into the kidney here. The inhale is gathering the midnight blue. The exhale is letting it pour into the kidney. Let's just do one more. Inhale the midnight blue. Exhale, let it pour into the kidney. So we do a certain number of reps. Again, 6 or 9 would be better if you have time. And then we want to do the other side. So now it's the back of the right palm that's on the left kidney. And again, the inhale is scooping up the midnight blue color. The exhale is letting that pour into the kidney. Inhale, scoop up the midnight blue. Exhale, let it pour into the kidney. Inhale, scoop up the midnight blue. Exhale, let it pour into the kidney. One more. Inhale. Exhale. So that's a really good movement to do for our kidneys. And then remember, going in, so a seasonal movement we can make for fall into winter that's very useful also is working with our pelvis here, letting our shoulders and arms relax, and just doing this swinging motion like this. So this is really starting to work this upper lung area. So again, this would be a good lymphatic movement that we could make as a movement. And we just do this, and so it's not this, we're not just swinging our arms, we're letting our arms relax. And because we're doing this with our hip pelvis area, our arms are swinging. So we want that total relaxation because we want that relaxation to pour into this space up here. So you would do this for 20 or 30 seconds. And then the second part of this one is the collapse open. So when you do this, you feel the front of the rib cage collapsing. And the palms look like this. And they can even be hitting the top of the thighs. And then when we open up, the rib cage opens, and it feels like you're taking any stuck energy that's here. So this helps to start to move around that stuck energy that's here. And then when we do the collapse open movement like this, that's pushing together the space and then opening it up and actually letting that sixth tail energy fling out our fingers like this. Now, some people, when they do this one, they'll do it like this. They'll bend down more. We're just opening and closing the rib cage because we want to work with the lungs. So you could do this, but to start to learn what movements are doing to our body is if we do this bending down motion like this, it's working on the kidneys more, which is fine. And that's what we did when we did this movement here, is we're working with the kidneys because you feel that compression on the kidneys. So for the winter season, we want to be working on the lungs. So just this opening, closing of the rib cage is what we want to do. If we bend over more like this, working on kidneys, working on lungs, working on kidneys, working on lungs. So that's okay. But we really want to focus just on the lungs here. And so that simple movement has been really good for a lot of people to just have them get through the winter without really colds and flus bothering them that much. Just that one simple movement. And again, it's really good for the for this area that we worked on with the lymphatic. So let's do our wise owl looks backwards. So eyes now stretched to look behind us. So remember, when we're doing any of this work, we don't want to be experiencing any pain. It's not about pushing through the pain with this kind of work. It's about stretching and conditioning the connective tissue and moving, again, fluidic and energetic areas. And so when we work with the connective tissue, we're working with the chi flow quite a bit also. which means we're working with the flow of blood also. So let's go to rhinoceros gazing at the moon. And let's do a few more shoulder movements. There may be some stuff for the wrist fingers, any of that carpal tunnel, tennis elbow stuff is going to be good for this. So the easiest one to do is this one where we're in close to the body, fingers are back to back like this. We curl around, so index fingers, and then we curl up so it's little fingers, and the little fingers are diving upward further away from the body, and then they pour down closer in. So what we can be noticing about this movement is we can feel the shoulder girdle here is rotating. And so we do that in both directions. And this is going to be a really gentle movement for the shoulder area. So again, if there's any arthritis, bursitis, anything like that, this is a good one to do. Again, you might do it 9 reps. You could do it a couple times a day. And then we reverse it, and now we're going up closer in. Little fingers, index fingers dive down further away from the body. So this is a very gentle movement for the shoulder area, but it'll get that circulation going. In both directions of the shoulder girdle. And then a lot of times people have rotator cuff issues up in here. And again, bursitis is mostly going to be in this space here. So it's going to be in that rotator cuff area. So for this one, when we do this movement, we're not trying to move the shoulder like this. We're trying to keep it so that it's just doing this arc pattern. So if you have your index finger out, it's kind of like you're drawing an egg shape or a parabola. And it's really nice and slow. So you'll notice typically you're coming in toward the center line here. And then you're going out to the side and maybe the back a little bit here. And you want to do the shoulders that's a better shoulder first. So start with the good shoulder. And then when we do the second one, we're going to do it with the shoulder that's bothering you the most. So we go that direction. Now we go this direction. Now what people will find, and especially I find a lot of people have this direction where it's like, oh, I'm feeling some pain here as I try to lift up. So again, do the movement, but just do it with less mobility. So stop short of the pain, but still do the movement, because eventually that's going to get the mobility to be better. So notice we're coming down that center line. We go back. And this is nice and slow. So now we go to the shoulder that's bothering you more, and we do it on that side. And the reason for this is that, especially when we're doing mind-body work like this, and our attention is in certain spaces, so our attention should be here feeling that space. And our brain is noticing, oh, this side is not working as well as that other side. So then it makes a note of that. And at night when we're in deep sleep, so let's go the other direction, it's actually sending chemistry to repair the situation. And that's why getting deep sleep at night is really, really important. So another movement we can make is this one here where we're kind of pulling out. So I'm letting my little finger and my ring finger and my middle finger, so they're leading the movement. And so when I do this one, this is really good for the wrist, obviously, but it's working through the elbow, and I can definitely feel it in the shoulder here. And I damage the shoulder, so it's usually complaining a little bit when I do some of these movements. But these movements over time have helped really rehab that shoulder, so it's gotten a lot stronger. So this one, again, we go that one direction, and then we go the other direction. And this is another one that definitely, you feel it a lot in the shoulder area. So it's another good one to do. Don't overdo these, especially if there's a situation in the shoulder or the elbow or any of these areas. You don't want to overdo it again, but you want to be consistent and maybe do these every day until the area heals up. So another one we can do is this one here. So fingers are interlaced and we're bending like this. So we're doing this kind of, I'm going to do it really slowly. So maybe you do it slowly just to get that really good bend, but then eventually you want to do it really fast like this. So you go one direction, you're going to find one direction to be really easy, and then you're going to find the other direction to be really difficult. So that's really good for, again, wrist, but it's telegraphing into elbow and shoulder also. And for the hands, the fingers, you can do this tiger claw thing. So the tiger claw is, you're just bending, and you definitely feel all the tendons. And then we can do, and then when you release it, you go, oh, that definitely was like tight in there. And then you can do swimming octopus after that. So when you do swimming octopus, it's just stretch and then release, coming back. And when we do the stretch forward, you're probably facing a wall. So you want to feel and imagine that your fingers are actually touching that wall in front of you, because that's going to help the stretch even get better. And let it release. So, and when you do swimming octopus, you can also be stretching your toes forward and back too. So fingers and toes can stretch forward, fingers and toes can relax back. And this one you could do for maybe 20 seconds and maybe just once a day. And it really helps loosen up all of this. And again, remember, if there's anything going on in the shoulder, the elbow, the wrists, the fingers, this tendon here, it's all connected. So if there's something going on here, working with these movements for elbow, wrist, fingers, and the tendons here is all going to help to mitigate any problem that's in this entire system here. So let's do snake body. And so there's a few other movements we can do, say for the rib cage. And let's do those because when we do those, again, it's going to be helping shoulders, elbow, wrist. And since we're kind of working with these areas a little bit, so snake body really is going to move the rib cage. You're probably going to feel some tenderness in the back. And then let's do hawk penetrates the forest. So when these hawks fly through a forest, especially if it's dense trees, they do a couple of different movements. So their wings are out like this. If they have to get in between some trees like this, what they do is they compress the body and the wings, and then when they come out the other side of the tree, they expand again. Now, say the trees are really close together, what they do is they do that compression a bit, but then they go to the side to go through the tree, and then they come back like this again. So in a way, that's the movement we're going to do with this this next rib cage movement. And so with this one, we have the left palm here, the right palm is here. Shoulders are always nice and relaxed. Our body is as relaxed as possible when we do any of this. And so what we do is, as best as we can, and again, it looks simple, but it's a little tricky. We're moving the rib cage to move our arms. So our arms are like this, and the movement is turning the rib cage to the left. This is the left palm. And when we do that, we're kind of lifting the rib cage up so that the palms lift up like this. And then we're letting it sink on this side, and it lifts up a little bit to do the movement to the other side like that. And then it turns again to the back and goes to the other side. So what you should be feeling when you do this is you should definitely be feeling the rib cage is moving you around like this. And I'm exaggerating it a bit, but it's the rib cage that's spiraling. So again, we do this, come around and do this, and then we that. So there's a little pause here, and then you rotate to the other side. And again, there's a lift up of the rib cage as it's rotating back. And then it sinks down and lifts up again to get to here. So again, this is something that you might feel in the lower back. You might feel it in the shoulders. A good movement again for lymphatic, and a good movement if you're having any shoulder issues. But it's also helping all the organs, endocrine system. And let's do just one more for the rib cage, which is the tiger rolling the ball, or the lion rolling the ball. This one's a little more round. So we have a ball, it's kind of big here. And it's a similar kind of movement because we're moving to the left. And again, you feel the rib cage lift up. So what we're doing is we're rolling the ball forward and upward with the bottom palm. So again, that's coming from the rib cage lifting it like this. And so we roll the ball to the left like this. And then we roll the ball to the right and lift it up, roll it, let it sink back down, turn, lift it up, roll it. And again, you're going to really feel this in the lower back. But it's all done again with this. So those were some additional areas for here. Let's go to the hip movements. So the one we did with the kidneys, this is going to help kidneys more too. So let's just rotate around. And again, nice and slow. Where most people cheat is around the outside corners here. So we're just trying to make this the biggest, roundest circle we can. And most people are going to feel this in the lower back also, because this is really good for the kidneys. Now, a lot of people that do these hip movements, we'll do them more like this is okay too. They'll do them a lot faster. So this movement is also something you could do. You could add this in. So you could do the really slow one, and then you could do one that's a little faster. Let's do hula hips next. So this is the tailbone drawing that small circle in between your feet. So a difficult one to do. So when you first do it, it might look like this. Just do it nice and slow. But eventually you're going to get a bigger range of motion. So this is really, really good to reduce stress in the body because we're working with that psoas muscle that's here. And the psoas muscles are fight and flight muscle, and it's going to be holding on to a lot of emotional tension and stress, anxiety. And so here's a really good way to rinse that out. Then we go to the knees and rotation of knees. Then flexing of knees is just a squat backwards. And you feel, especially this material here, is definitely getting a really good stretch. And then we go to ankles. So let's do some acupuncture points. So for fall, our seasonal points are going to be lungs and large intestine. So first, just find the bottom of your collarbone here and move over to where you feel the bony structure of your shoulder here. So when the collarbone meets that bony structure, that's lung 2. So take your middle finger and just go down, straight down from that. And that's lung 1. So you can do it on both sides. If you want to find it first on this other side, that's fine. We can do them both at the same time. So this lung point is going to be really good to use, again, to keep the lungs healthy during this season. And these are just things you can do like later on at night when you're just sitting on the couch or something like that. And the next one that's easy to go to because we already have it set up is this crease here at the bottom of it going into the elbow bone area here is large intestine 11. So this is another really good point for anything that's going on, especially in the elbow, but it'll be helpful for wrist and shoulder too. So large intestine 11. And then another large intestine point is that large intestine 4. So it's in the webbing here. This is called the Hoku, tiger's mouth. And large intestine 4 is just aiming right into the bony structure of the index finger. Most people use it to relieve headaches, pain in the body. Also useful for releasing stress and anxiety in the system. And yesterday we did Lingu after this. Let's do that again. So large intestine 4. And then if you travel further in from large intestine 4 to where the bones of the thumb and the index finger meet here, so it's further in. Lingu is like a magical point that many people have told me if there's anything going on in their wrist or their elbow or their shoulder, doing this point, and even anywhere else in the body. Lingu seems to be a magic point that automatically helps to just release whatever's stuck. So let's do large intestine 4 first on this side. And these points may be tender. If they're tender, what it's kind of telling you is, keep on doing this, every day until the tenderness goes away. And then further down is Lingu. So sometimes with Lingu, some people will also add in there's points, there's a point on the gallbladder meridian. So remember that goes down the outside of the legs. And if you just put your hands here, where the fingers touch here, if you curl them in and press in, that is another kind of magical point on the gallbladder meridian. And you're working with that right now, that might be a little tender.
Which number is that?
I forget the exact
Oh,
number.
sorry.
I'll look it up and tell you. But one thing that's interesting about this particular point is, remember when we do our premortal Tai Chi, the palms are going to that point as we stir the cauldron on each side. So so we're lining up that point, these 2 points, when we do that. I think it might be I'm going to say gallbladder 21, but I think my memory is probably incorrect there.
Not to worry. Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. Well, the easy thing is, again, to find it, it's just let your palms rest here, curl up sort of the middle finger, and you're right in the center, and that's where it is. And typically, it's going to be a little tender, probably, on most people. So let's go.
So are your fingers going into your glute then?
Well, so just so think about the center of your leg here, and your middle finger is right in the center of the leg. And so if you just curl it, you're right in that spot. Now you can poke around a little bit and go, oh, okay, there's tenderness here. So that's where you'd want to kind of work.
Okay.
Okay. So, because if you poke around, I definitely feel on both sides tenderness. And so that's the area that you want to be in. And again, gallbladder meridian actually has the most lines running through the body, even though the gallbladder is really small. This meridian has a lot so it's running along our head here. It's running along the back of the body. It's running along the outside leg area. So the gallbladder meridian is a kind of used as a sense organ in Tai Chi. When you're making movements, you feel the outside environment with the gallbladder meridian. So it's kind of important in that respect in movement work. So let's do a few of the late summer ones. So stomach, that's going to be stomach, small intestine. And again, if you're having trouble with your stomach or intestinal area, these are good to do all year round. So find the curve of your neck here. You'll find the top of the collarbone. You'll go to the bottom of the collarbone and you'll go in. And this is stomach meridian that we work with a seasonal point for late summer that we've come out of. But we can still do the transitions. And again, if you have any stomach issues, a lot of people have stomach issues one way or the other. And obviously stomach issues, anxiety is in that space also. So working with these stomach points are going to be good to release that. All that nervousness is the butterflies in the stomach, maybe before you know, are doing a public talk or performance or something like that. And then the stomach meridian comes down through the rib cage, but then comes in a little bit and goes down like this. So typically for most people, 3 fingers. So if you find your belly button and you go 3 fingers to each side, that's stomach 25. And that'll be a good one to work with for stomach issues also, because it's right in this intestinal area. Stomach is a little bit above this. And I know we're out of time, but let's just do a few more points. We can sit down to do these because we didn't do these yesterday. We didn't have time yesterday. So liver 3 is going to be good for us to do, which is right, you know, big toe, the toe next to it. You just follow that line up, maybe 2 fingers width, and you're going to find, and again, this point on most people, especially if they've never used it before or don't use it very often, you're going to find it very easily because it's going to be tender. And that is so that's the source point for the liver. When we do these source points, these points are really important because whether that liver meridian has too much energy in it or not enough, this will regulate it to do whatever it has to do. So liver 3. And let's do that on the other side. So typically liver 3, we find that in our spring points workout. But because liver and kidneys and spleen are so important to all the systems for detoxification, it's really a good idea. I mean, a lot of people work with these points every day, especially so if we go to stomach 36, which again, you follow the tibia, bone in the front here comes up. There's this little knob here. You go in, you find where the fibula, which is the bone, the other bone in the leg, and the tibia and the fibula meet right below the knee here. You're going in at the top of the tibia, the front bone here. That's stomach 36. So this is a point that a lot of people will do every day because it's a longevity point. There are people that claim, you know, I do this point every day and I live to be 100 years old. But this will also add a lot of extra energy into the lower body, into the digestive system. Gives you more energy in this lower space, so really good for that. And we're working with the stomach again, which a lot of people have issues with. And then let's just finish with spleen 6. So this is another one. So it's 4 fingers, little finger, you know, kind of stops and might go to the middle of the inner ankle here. And then you go again to the center of the leg. And that's spleen 6 right there up from, and again, it's pretty much in the middle, but this is another point that's going to be sore on most people if they've never done it before. It's the meeting point of spleen, kidney, liver, so we're working with all three of those, which is another reason why this is an important point that people might work with every day or maybe 5 times a week. Let's just quickly do it on the other side. And that'll complete our work for today. So we didn't have time to do a Qigong movement today, but that's okay. We worked on a lot of other stuff that's kind of important and beneficial. And that's what we do in classes. We want to move around to some different stuff.
Thanks, Steve. You have a great afternoon, and I'll see you next week. Have a good weekend too.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you for coming to practice together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See everybody next time. Everybody have a great rest of your day, a great weekend.